You're listening to the Health and Happiness Podcast with Travis Kemper and
Lauren Maxwell. Each episode, we share easy to implement strategies to improve your health, happiness, and overall quality of life.
Vitamin D improves mood, cognition, and pain tolerance. Without the sunshine vitamin, few of us would experience lives free of disease. Unknown. How's it going, Travis?
Good. I had a cold this week and I missed a few days of work. Still a little congested, so it might be a little nasally, but I'm generally feeling better.
Yay.
Still slightly short of breath. So,
Oh
well. I am officially transferring to the main hospital. It won't be until July. I was debating because I really like my office and my coworkers, but the gas savings right now will literally pay for half a month of our grocery bill.
Dang.
So that kind of made it a no-brainer.
Yeah. That makes sense. Well,
How's it going?
congratulations.
Thank you. How's it going, Lauren?
It's going good. My dad came up this weekend and helped us start our very first garden. He took a master gardening program a few years ago, so it was great to pick his brain and try to figure out how to do this gardening thing because we've never done it before. We planted lots of veggies and some fruit, and hopefully we'll be able to keep them alive and then be able to use them for cooking. That's the goal. That's the dream, I guess.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That
Also, this
exciting.
is the last week of school for Kayenta. The last week of school for Tuba was last week. So it's going to be another long week for sure because progress reports and end of school things take forever. But I'm excited to be done with the bulk of the school year for the summer and just have ESY, which is extended school year for Kayenta, and then summer groups, and then my AZIP kids. So I'm looking forward to slowing down for a little bit for a few months.
Awesome. Well, I mean, it's nice that you have like slow time when the weather's beautiful.
I know. It's the best.
Right?
I
Yeah.
love it.
You get slow time at Christmas and pretty much every other holiday, and then when the weather's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's a great job.
That sounds like it's not too bad.
Yeah, I like that I have a combination of like working for school and working outside of school because I always have some work to do. Like I'm never like, I have nothing to do.
Right. Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah, I like the balance of just slowing down. Yeah, it's nice.
Right.
So, what are we going to talk about today, Travis?
Well, a few weeks ago when we did the sunlight episode, we found some interesting studies about vitamin D and supplementing with it. So we thought we would do an episode on vitamin D today. So Lauren, what is vitamin D?
What is vitamin D? Vitamin D is not one chemical, but many. The natural type is produced in the skin from a universally present form of cholesterol, which I didn't know. Sunlight is the key for vitamin D. Its ultraviolet B energy converts the precursor to vitamin D. In contrast, most dietary supplements are manufactured by exposing a plant sterol to ultraviolet energy, thus producing vitamin D2. Because their function is almost identical, D2 and D3 are lumped together under the same name, vitamin D, but neither will function until the body works its magic. So the sun's energy turns a chemical in your skin into vitamin D3, which is carried to your liver and then your kidneys to transform it to active vitamin D. So it doesn't do anything for you until it goes to your liver and your kidneys. Vitamin D's best known role is to keep bones healthy by increasing the intestinal absorption of calcium. Without enough vitamin D, the body can only absorb 10% to 15% of dietary calcium. But 30% to 40% absorption is the rule when vitamin reserves are normal. So some other benefits of vitamin D include, and I think we mentioned a lot of these in our sunlight episode, but managing calcium levels, reducing inflammation, supporting the immune system and glucose metabolism, reducing risk of several types of cancers and also Parkinson's disease, and decreasing migraines. So we'll go into a little bit more on all of those further in the episode.
Vitamin D deficiency has been found to be prevalent in 42% of the population in the U.S., with some estimates up to 50% worldwide. It is higher in people with increased skin pigmentation, and also, I should say the prevalence is higher in people with increased pigmentation and also people that live in not sunny places. I would guess. Yeah.
Makes sense.
So Lauren, while I get burned easier, I also soak up vitamin D like a sponge.
Well, there you go.
My pale skin is working out for me. Severe vitamin D deficiency results in rickets in children and osteomalacia in adults. Mounting research supports additional beneficial effects of vitamin D outside of the musculoskeletal system. Evidence suggests that vitamin D facilitates the regulation of blood pressure and cardiac, endothelial, and smooth muscle cell functions, playing an important role in cardiovascular protection. It also improves immunity, subdues inflammation, and reduces the incidence and severity of common cancers, autoimmune diseases, and infectious diseases. Optimizing vitamin D status improves the functionality of bodily systems, reduces comorbidities, improves quality of life, and increases survival.
Lots of good things. So at the end of the study, the vitamin D levels were significantly higher in the sunlight exposure with vitamin D supplementation rather than the sunlight exposure alone. And then, go ahead.
Sorry, if you're listening at home, remember they only measured vitamin D levels. They didn't measure anything else.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's not a comparable argument to what some of the other studies have made, where it's like sunlight versus vitamin D on this.
Yes.
This is just measuring your vitamin D levels in your blood serum.
Yes. So obviously vitamin D supplementation is effective for increasing vitamin D levels.
Yes.
But not necessarily doing anything else with that.
Yeah, that's the question.
Right. So we have another study on vitamin D supplements and osteoporosis in postmenopausal women. So this was a systematic review that explored the combined calcium and vitamin D supplementation effects on osteoporosis in postmenopausal women. They found that combined supplementation significantly increased bone mineral density and decreased risk of hip fractures, but only when vitamin D supplementation was no more than 400 IU.
Yeah, that's an interesting finding because according to the Mayo Clinic, the recommendations for adults are 600 IU per day, up to 70 years of age, and 800 after that. But their study found that any more than 400 IU did not increase bone mineral density.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, so another study that's kind of comparable to that one is another systematic review, 81 randomized control trials, 53,500 total participants. They were looking at falls and fractures to see if vitamin D supplementation decreased the risk of falls and fractures. And what they found was that there was no evidence of reduced falls or fractures. They actually found a negative correlation with the vitamin D supplementation and hip fractures, meaning people taking vitamin D in the studies were more likely to break their hip, not less likely.
Whoa!
And the reason we included both these studies in this episode is because one had calcium and vitamin D.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one just had vitamin D, and they found different things. So it sounds like for osteoporosis, the calcium plus the vitamin D was the important part in the studies that we have at this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow, that's interesting. We have some more research on sunlight and vitamin D with cancer. Vitamin D has been associated with reduced risk for many chronic illnesses, including cancer and cancer mortality. Epidemiologic and ecological studies have suggested that living at higher latitudes and having lower blood levels of vitamin D are associated with increased risk for up to 15 cancers, including breast, colon, lung, lymphoma, pancreatic, ovarian, and prostate cancer.
Lauren, when you first said this, I processed latitudes as altitudes, and I was concerned for both of us. Latitudes makes way more sense because, shorter days and less sun in general.
Yeah, it was actually really hard for me to say latitudes and not altitudes because I feel like my brain wanted to read it that way too because it means something for me. But
I think I just see altitude a whole lot more than I see latitude.
Me too. Yeah. Yeah, but latitudes. It's latitudes, and you're right. That makes much more sense.
Yeah. Vitamin D and migraines. So there was a meta-analysis. Serum levels of vitamin D are significantly lower in migraine patients in comparison with healthy controls. This is a correlation, not necessarily a causation. But there's some randomized control trials that studied whether vitamin D supplementation for migraines versus a placebo actually decreased migraine frequency. And they found that migraine patients on D3 vitamin supplementation demonstrated a nearly 50% decrease in migraine frequency from baseline to week 24 compared with the placebo.
I'm doing a happy dance. This is huge for people with migraines because, and something that I really wanted to look into the research on because I started taking vitamin D supplements for migraines. I don't even know why. I don't think I looked at the research at the time. I just was like, why not? Sure, let's try it. And I did notice, personally, it has helped me quite a bit. But yeah, a nearly 50% decrease is huge.
Pretty dang substantial for somebody that's having migraine issues.
Yeah, and that's so I don't have to take as much other types of medication to help with my migraines. Instead, I just take vitamin D supplements, and that's a big win for me. Big win.
Yeah, that is one of the few things that we found that vitamin D supplementation is really, really supported in actually making a difference in your health. So conclusions we could definitely make from this are that vitamin D deficiency is associated with many diseases, including cardiovascular, severe COVID, osteoporosis, muscle weakness, depression, migraines, schizophrenia, dementia, diabetes, cancer, and more. What we cannot conclude is if these problems are caused by vitamin D deficiency or if vitamin D deficiency is a symptom of a generally unhealthy lifestyle. We can also not conclude whether or not vitamin D supplementation alone is going to help most of these problems. The evidence that we have currently kind of suggests no. Mm-hmm. It's not going to help with most of these problems unless your problem is migraines. But I feel like we definitely need more evidence for this. It sounds like sunlight has more evidence than vitamin D supplementation. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
We can conclude that safely. Recommendation would be to get a blood test at your next regular physician meetup. Mm-hmm. That's what they call them nowadays, right? They call them physician meetups. How about appointment?
I like meetup better.
Before you would even consider trying any new supplementation. Lauren, let's say a listener goes to their meetup and gets a blood test and finds out that they have low vitamin D levels. What would you recommend they do? What would you do if you're in their shoes?
Yeah. Sunlight is the best supported option in the research to improve your health, along with vitamin D levels. So go listen to our sunlight episode. That would be my first recommendation. Diet can help, although it can be difficult to get the amount of vitamin D you need with just food alone. So some information we got on diet was that fish and shellfish provide natural vitamin D. Oily fish are the best, but you'll have to eat about 5 ounces of salmon, 7 ounces of halibut, 30 ounces of cod, or nearly 2 8-ounce cans of tuna just to get 400 IU, which that's according to our Mayo Clinic
source.
Thank you. We need more than 400 IU, so you would need more than that.
No, it said that was the max.
No, the Mayo Clinic
Oh,
one said
whoa,
600 to 800 or 600 up to 70, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. An egg yolk will provide about 20 IU, but since it also contains nearly a day's quota of cholesterol, you can't very well use eggs to fill your tank with vitamin D. Other foods have even less vitamin D, which is why manufacturers will try to fortify milk, some yogurt, some orange juice, and many cereals with vitamin D. But like one serving of that isn't your daily recommended amount either. You'd have to drink a lot.
I like that your problem with the eggs is that they have cholesterol too. Not the fact that to get to 400 IU,
you have to eat a million.
2 dozen eggs.
You have to eat a million.
You're quite okay with the 20 eggs.
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine eating that many eggs in a day.
I can.
20 eggs?
I mean, I could do it. I wouldn't want to do it every day, but like if I eat eggs for breakfast, it's not uncommon. For
20 eggs for breakfast?
It's not uncommon for a half dozen or more.
Okay, yeah. I mean, sure, 6. I don't think I've ever eaten 6 by myself. I've done 6
meals
to split between me and Nolan. Anyway, most people require supplements to get the vitamin D that they need. It's the main benefit of a daily multivitamin to most provide 400 IU. Again, it sounds like you need more than that, but maybe 400.
Well, maybe. Who knows? The research study said over 400 didn't do anything. Yeah. So who knows? Anyway, so some notes on this episode. It seems that a greater increase in vitamin D levels can be achieved with vitamin D supplementation than with sun exposure. But most of the studies are showing that there are less health benefits with supplementation as opposed to sun exposure. So a hypothesis is maybe we don't understand the benefits from the sunlight well enough, and there could be a lot more going on, and likely is a lot more going on than just vitamin D.
Yeah.
Could be also that the vitamin D is perceived by the body in a different way than when received in a capsule. However, that doesn't necessarily make sense with the increase in the levels in your blood serum.
Right.
And it could also be that the studies are wrong, and we need further research comparing vitamin D and sunlight on X thing, like exercise endurance was one, Parkinson's was another. Osteoporosis was one from our sunlight episode that I don't think we put on this one, that it showed the effects of sunlight much stronger than the effects of supplementation. So if we have more studies, maybe we'll find out that it's just as good. As of right now, I think we can conclude that sunlight is most likely the best benefit or the best bang for your buck if you can get outside.
Yes.
Lauren, do you have a challenge?
I sure do. You should get a blood test at your next physician meetup to take better control of your health.
Lauren, this was fun. You did a great job today.
You too, Travis. Awesome job.
I can't wait for my next physician meetup.
Me neither.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to this episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode and are getting benefits from our content.
If your life is improving in part due to the information in this podcast, we would greatly appreciate you sharing the episode with your family and friends on social media and leaving us a review so we can continue to reach more people and improve the health and happiness of the community at large.
Thanks again, and we will see you next week for another episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast.